today's episode of Project 402, I'm with Marjorie Moss. She is the CEO, is that the correct term?
Executive Director.
Executive Director of Share Omaha. And today you're going to hear what they do, how they're helping to build a community and connect everyone back to local businesses. So Marjorie, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Colin.
Of course, we appreciate it. So just want to start off and kind of give people a little backstory about you. How did you get to be the Executive Director? How did you find service and nonprofits and your passion?
Service has been a part of my family and my professional growth since high school, junior high. So service has kind of been a common thread as far as community involvement. And I, through different roles, either for-profit entities and consulting as an advocate, there's been a constant thread of community improvement in my career. And so eventually, once the availability of this position became a reality, being drawn to serve as many nonprofits as possible really fits as far as my care for the community. I really feel like, personally, it's about the good works that's done across the community, not particularly by maybe one organization. That's drawn me to the nonprofit sector. And seeing just the whole of the nonprofit sector being lifted up is something that I've cared about for a very long time. And to be part of an engine or resource that really does that inspires me every day.
Awesome. That's really, I can sense the passion there, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. Were you always born and raised in Omaha then, or what landed you here?
My family was a military family. So my dad was Corps of Engineers, and we came here when I was 3 months old, and my dad became a civilian employee of the Corps about 4 or 5 years after moving here. So our family's been here ever since. Okay. And my husband also is a military plant from here. His dad was Air Force, and we met in high school. When both of us went away to college and made our way back to Omaha because of all that was thriving and happening here and families here. And our life has never left.
I like it.
Yeah.
Same here. I'm tried and true. I did the cliche path, always born and raised here. I've worked and lived outside of Omaha for a few weeks or a couple months at a time, but Omaha's always home base. Something about the city is just magnetic. If you leave, it'll boomerang you back, right? That's the boomerang effect.
And there's more and more boomerang stories, and I felt like I came back every summer and did an internship or did a practicum experience, something like that kept me viable in my academic pursuits, but also gave me some internship experience. And every summer I came back, I was like, there is something happening here. And that's like when the now CHI Health Center was being built. That's when the Holland Center was under construction, and I was just like, there is an investment happening in this community that was absent when I was in high school, and the path from the airport was being redone, and it's just the entrance and the presentation of Omaha. There was a lot more care for the aesthetic of what we looked like as a community at that point.
Definitely.
And also just the pillars of involvement were something more to be proud of than we had for decades. But there's a rich history in Omaha as well that's being celebrated, and I feel like we're just building upon the hard work of many decades before us. So
I agree with that, and especially in terms of city development, there's a lot of investment going back, physically, right, into buildings, revitalizing different parts of town. But what's often overlooked or not talked about as much is the investment back in the people of the city. And Share Omaha is, in my opinion, the best avenue for that.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about how you're helping people invest in other people back in our city.
Well, Share Omaha exists as a resource that helps other nonprofits fulfill their missions by raising support and service from the community at large. So we believe that there's a giving public. We believe there's people out there that want to make a difference in the community and are looking for ways to do that on an everyday basis. We don't believe you need to have a special holiday or a special reason. That we believe there's an innate need for people to give back, and we want to make that as easy as possible. And we know that also in the workplace, that the more engaged people feel in their communities, the more likely they are to stay in that community, and the more likely they are that if that giving back happens through their workplace, that there is more good to be done as a team, and then people feel more committed to that employer.
Sure.
So we work not only just with private citizens, but with employers to figure out how are they going to meet their community engagement goals, what community engagement goals do they have, and how can we help groups and entities plug in from a skills-based but also a general volunteering basis.
Do most have those in place? Community?
I would say some have them loosely and some have them very, very intentionally.
Sure.
I think most businesses want to do something at least once a year that's giving back. Some people have monthly goals. Some people have huge aggregate goals of their entire workforce really giving 8 hours a year or 16 hours a year or even 8 hours a month. That volunteer time off looks different for every organization, and sometimes is more of a team building experience than it is independently motivated volunteering. But I have yet to find a business that says we don't give back to the community. And so we know that they're looking for ways to make that as easy for them as possible, because it's not their core business to figure out how to give back to the community.
Yeah, they're a business, right?
They're a business.
Their goal is to make money.
And so they want to, or it's social good, or it's or it's a social enterprise, and they want to figure out a way that they're going to meet their own goals by helping the community meet its goals. And that's when businesses kind of start talking like that they want to see their business goals be part of what the community is up to. Then we know that we know that there is an opportunity there for Share Omaha to really help them figure out ways to get better plugged in. But yet there's businesses that just on off seasons give back. I think about the construction company Spec Pro. In the wintertime, they look for ways to keep their employees really busy in maybe a slower season. And they found an opportunity on our website to help construct the upcoming, at that time, Children's Museum exhibit. And that's what they did. And they gave thousands of dollars of donated time and labor over to the Children's Museum in an effort to keep their employees engaged in their business. I mean, that's not the volunteering you think about on a regular basis, but it's definitely a viable option for employers. And so we know that from small business to large business, there's a place for us, as well as that individual citizen and that family that wants to get their volunteerism up, that wants to show their children how to get engaged in the community. We know there's just a spectrum of opportunities and people out there and entities that want to get involved.
Definitely. I'm glad we jumped, I'm glad we jumped right into that, because I'd always kind of looked at Share Omaha as a way for, like you said, individuals and families to become a part of the, doing a lot of service, doing philanthropy, giving back. But businesses, obviously, you capture way more people, and I'm very glad you brought up VTO, volunteer time off. That's something that I keep seeing pop up every other day on LinkedIn, on my friends' profiles. Absolutely.
And different companies think about it in different ways. Some companies say it has to be a chosen nonprofit by that company that they support. That VTO has to dial into those specific nonprofits, but maybe choosing those nonprofits is a challenge sometimes. As where Share Omaha can come into play when you want to help find, when you need help finding the nonprofit that's a fit for what you want to get accomplished in the community. But sometimes it's totally on their own volition. It's totally on their prerogative, where they want to plug into the community, when the employee wants to represent the company and what they're passionate about. So VTO looks different at almost every company.
And so, am I understanding this right, that Share Omaha helps businesses set up VTO and kind of structure?
Not so much set up, but help them fulfill what they're wanting to accomplish.
And build the connections.
So we can give them best practices of what VTO can look like at their organization, just from our past experience in the marketplace. But really, when it comes time to them to pick the organizations or pick the opportunities or find the places where they can find shifts, of what scheduling might work best for their company, we can get them connected to those right people and those right organizations and those right volunteer coordinators to get that scheduled. And we can do it in kind of a white glove turnkey fashion, like we can do kind of the work for them. But
who doesn't like that?
And we can, and some organizations really like that. But we also know that the website's super easy to use. And so we don't want to charge for something that is absolutely intuitive on the website.
Sure.
So in case they want something that's more tailored, that's not a listed posting, we can do that research and legwork for them. But if it's posted on the website, we don't charge for people to use our website.
Sure.
That's the benefit to the public and to businesses and employers, as well as to the nonprofits, that there's no fee to get involved on Share Omaha.
Right. None at all. You don't charge? Do you charge for anything?
Not at this time.
Okay.
We charge, if we do some of that curated work for a business, we charge for that service.
Yeah.
We monetize that, but just simply using the website, using the resource is not something that we monetize. We want it to be as inclusive as possible. We want it to be inclusive for businesses like Spec Pro all the way up to the Physicians Mutuals of the world.
Sure.
But we also want it to be accessible for the smallest of the small nonprofits that's just got their website up, it's been doing business for a year, all the way up to the Salvation Armies and Habitat of Humanities of the world.
Right.
So,
I think that's very imperative for a program like Share Omaha
to be inclusive.
to move forward and just to not kind of exist, but to thrive and grow and actually connect the community, is for it to be all inclusive and essentially free.
Well, and we really pride ourselves on the randomization of how the search shows up, because every day that search is re-randomized every 24 hours.
Really?
So if you were to click 3 filters today, the order, the content would be the same from day to day,
right? But
the order in which it's presented is randomized. So you get a fresh swath of choices to look at every day.
Right.
So if there's 3 pages, it's not by alphabet order or by size of nonprofit or by a membership fee sliding scale.
Right.
It's totally based upon the nonprofit to put their best foot forward, and that to draw you into the profile.
That's awesome.
So it really makes that level playing field real for the small nonprofits, for the intimate sized nonprofits, to be right next to those pillars that you always think of. So, and it's up to both of those organizations, both sides of that spectrum, to put themselves forward in the most engaging manner possible.
Oh, cool.
So we think it's really anybody's opportunity to draw in a new nonprofit, to draw in a new donor, to draw in a new supporter, to draw in a new volunteer.
How many nonprofits are on your website
today?
At this time?
This will date us a little bit because it's 359 today.
Okay.
We launched the end of launch day on January 17th. We had 156 nonprofits.
Wow.
So that's more than double the amount of growth in 7 months.
That's incredible.
We know that it took hold in the nonprofit space, and we've crested, I think, 1,100 volunteer applications have run through our website.
Wow.
In that 7 months, and thousands of dollars of donations and tons of traffic going over to Amazon for wish list shopping. And we know people are really we know through Google Analytics that people are really finding events through Google searches that are located on Share Omaha, so we know that the traffic is definitely there. It's hard to find an apples-to-apples comparison with Share Omaha because there's national websites that aggregate volunteer opportunities, but they're national websites.
Yeah.
And their content's not hyper-local like ours. And we also are new and doing something new in the space. There's not a lot of peer organizations that we can compare our traffic to.
How many are there?
There's nobody doing exactly what Share Omaha does.
Really? In the whole country?
Well, there's Share Charlotte, our sister city in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Sure.
That's where the software was piloted. But there's really nothing that's aggregating on a hyper-local level volunteer and donation opportunities. There's Money Smart KC, which is a great website out of Kansas City that aggregates community opportunities and learnings as far as financial sustainability, but it's not the same type of system as ours.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think
Is it very hard logistically on the background, the tech side?
I think the development is complex that we have, and I hope it gets even more complex as versions 2 and 3.0 roll out.
Right.
But and as we get any mobile app functionality, things of that nature, but we're optimized for mobile. But I think the reason is that nonprofits don't have the time to do this for themselves. That volunteer coordinators are so busy doing their work for their organization, for them to think about the macro environment in which they exist as far as the ecosystem of nonprofits. Nobody has time to do this. So it needed to be a standalone effort, either a standalone nonprofit like ours or a standalone program that has its own team functioning within a larger system. Like as the Share movement scales across the country, I think you'll see different ways that it plugs into those communities.
Sure.
But for Omaha, it definitely seemed like in the research that we did that a standalone nonprofit is really going to be the way that it works here in Omaha.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating that Share Omaha is unique and there's nothing else like it. Is that also, people often forget that nonprofits are businesses still,
yes,
right? They still have to keep the lights on, they still have to get donors or grants, and they still have to make sure, of course, the most important, that they're helping X type of people or whatever their mission is.
Exactly.
Is that maybe another reason, another factor that you think? Because a different nonprofit, like say Habitat, just because they're the most common one that pops in my head too, they don't want to compete, they don't want to create a platform like Share Omaha because then they would compete with the other nonprofits, because you said 300 some, and is that just the Omaha Metro, or how far does that span?
That's the Omaha Council Bluffs Metro.
Wow, not Lincoln.
Not Lincoln. It's and we know that critical mass, not including churches and schools, is about 675 nonprofits. But a lot of those nonprofits are small nonprofits that don't have websites, that are just forming, that have just maybe one event per year, that maybe aren't the best candidates to be in Share Omaha. So we know as we're getting closer to 400, it's probably going to be our sweet spot.
Okay.
Where we're at critical mass for the Council Bluffs and Omaha based nonprofit based metro area. I would also say that we do serve a certain number of nonprofits that are statewide, that they serve all the way out to the Panhandle, and they have programs in Omaha and programs in Council Bluffs, but it begs the question of what does our footprint, what does our territory look like 3, 4, 5 years from now? I just say let us get through our first year of operations.
That's true.
And let us just get through this first year, and then we'll have a better perspective of what we're able to handle and what our capacity is, and what other types of capacity we would need to serve a larger footprint.
Right. I mean, that'd be a good thing, right? Change the name from Share Omaha to Share Nebraska or something like that. The more people can help, the better.
You're singing my song. I answer this question on a daily basis, and I try to at least dance around it a little bit, because we don't know what the right name is for if we were to extend further into Iowa, further into Nebraska. We don't know what the right name is, and we don't know how the technology has to change to accommodate a larger footprint.
Definitely.
So, and that's a conversation we have with our licensor, Share Good, that powers both Share Charlotte and Share Omaha and any other Share communities coming online, is what does that development look like, that if there's a community that's serving a broad territory, what does the search filters look like that would help aggregate a search that was even more localized to a specific piece of the footprint. So that's something that we're thinking about. But that's a development conversation that has to be done in coordination with all the Share communities.
Makes sense.
But one thing that you wanted to make sure we talked about was dynamics in the community and how I see the metro going forward. Yeah. Something that you wanted to make sure we talked about. One thing that has been present in my career, I started my career at Council Bluffs. I was on the building opening team for the Mid-America Center when it first opened. Cool. And I became very aware that there is a geographic but also a mental divide between Council Bluffs and Omaha.
Definitely.
And I think now that I'm back to serving a full footprint that includes the Council Bluffs and Omaha metro area in total, that I see it as my personal challenge, and part of my mission is to really feel inclusive in our operations of the entire footprint.
Right. I think the riverfront revitalization project will help tremendously.
Super helping. And I think the Bob Carey pedestrian bridge is a beautiful just extension of a tie between two communities coming together, and I love that, like in the middle it says the Iowa-Nebraska like
it's very Instagram worthy.
I love it. And people use it for engagement pictures.
Yes.
I mean, it is the spot. It is a spot. It is a spot. It's kind of like our four corners.
Yeah, it really is.
But when I think about that, I think that Share Omaha, our founding board, thinking that we needed to be inclusive of the entire metro area, was very forward thinking, and we've made so many efforts to be inclusive of that entire footprint as possible.
Right.
And Share Omaha does, like, we just moved offices. We just split our office hours of the week between an Exarban Village campus where we are today, and as well as having the balance of the week at the 712 initiative in Council Bluffs, downtown Council Bluffs.
Really? That's awesome.
So we want to be physically present in both communities, and kind of put our walk where our talk is. You know, so
how many members are on the team?
There's three members on our team,
okay.
and we have worked with a collaborative intern from UNO in our first year and hope to continue that, but they work remotely. So, so 3+, I would say, and
only 3 people running and managing a program that has over 350 nonprofits.
Yeah.
That sounds like you guys need looking to hire somebody.
Well, let me get through a year, and then I'll let you know.
Fair enough.
But we're trying really hard to really invest ourselves and our time in as many pieces of the entire metro area as we possibly can. So I think organizations that say they serve Omaha and Council Bluffs, our charge is to walk that out for our members and for the public in as many demonstrative ways as possible. So organizations that do serve both sides of the river are given prominence, as well as organizations that are solely based in Council Bluffs, that are solely based in Omaha. So that's a challenge that we're going to have, I think, as long as we're in business. But
probably.
I think that our effort to do so helps the community see it as one metro area. And so we're very intentional in how we message ourselves and how we message our geographic locations.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why do you think there is a divide between not even just Omaha Council Bluffs, but also kind of hometown pride of you heard the term SOB, I'm a South Omaha boy, or North Omaha, or West Omaha, Westo Besto is a cliche saying. I feel like Omaha is very divided, not really geographically, but like you said, kind of mentally. What causes that, and what can fix that?
I don't know about causes, but I think that's a deep sociology conversation.
Sure. Yeah,
sociological conversation. But I think that the responsibility is that you bring prominence to the entire metro area, to as many audiences as possible, and not exclude them from saying, well, they obviously won't be interested.
Sure.
So consistently putting that effort forward to encourage people to think beyond their sense of place, and to think about location and geography. People have pride in where they are, and there's things and locations and buildings and resources that keep people proud of their immediate sense of place.
Definitely.
But I think,
especially in a town as small or big as Omaha.
But I think the resources that I said drew me back to Omaha, as far as the CHI Health Center and the Holland Center and what's happening on the Jean Leahy Mall right now, the riverfront development. All of that feels like it's everybody's. And I think for a long time there was a separation because there wasn't those kind of iconic things that felt like it was everybody's to enjoy. And I feel like the more that there is like that, and the more that those types of landmark places happen throughout the community,
right.
the more people will be drawn to leave their comfort zone and go to new locations.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the Noetic Company's development in West Omaha. I think that's going to be a draw for people to leave Midtown and Dundee to check out something.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, that's just one example, but I think that consistently trying to offer something that's a destination, mm-hmm. Whether that be through an event, whether that be through community making conversation, whether that be through a landmark place, all of those things help people realize the uniqueness and why I should be drawn away from my typical footprint, my typical path in the community. And I think those things, and Share Omaha is a piece of that, because we don't narrow our search by geography at this point. So people are being drawn to organizations that are outside of their normal path in the community.
I like that.
And I like that a lot.
Especially, I'm a very big fan of the randomness behind, you said, the algorithm.
Yeah. When
you're doing searches and filtering, you could live in Gretna and then have
drawn to something in Sarpy County
or Council Bluffs, complete other side of the city.
Absolutely. And I think that people seeing that there's something that appeals to them that's outside of that typical path broadens their viewpoint and horizon, and
also just gets people out of their comfort zone. Too many people are complacent right now. You get in their routines, you kind of get stuck doing what you're doing, what you're comfortable with.
Well, I think that what you do, what you're comfortable with, I think all of that that's typical human behavior.
Definitely
right?
is.
And I think once there's something that breaks you out of your routine, that can be trajectory setting for your life in a whole way you didn't even expect. Mm-hmm. So I think about when somebody enters into a mentoring relationship, or when somebody enters into a true new volunteer role, or goes to an event that is outside of their neighborhood. All of that can spark conversation and relationship and community that's based on something that's not just geography.
Right.
And we hope that happens. One of our board members said, the technology of Share Omaha is going to change. It's going to look different in 5 years. We don't know. I mean, it's
probably the next year.
Right. We don't know what it looks like. But the benefit that we're seeing in the community is that nonprofits are working together, that people in the community feel more connected, that there's less silos amongst the nonprofit sector, that people are seeing things. People are seeing, nonprofit leaders as well as the community are seeing things in a better viewpoint that's more inclusive than they ever have before. And that's what they saw in Charlotte. And that's one of the reasons that our leaders and founders brought it here, is because they wanted to see that same activity and investment and tearing down of silos happen organically because the resources there.
Mm-hmm. And talking just kind of on a very big macro level of Omaha, I think you guys are involved in the chamber.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Speech after speech, a recurring topic is brain drain, where, not allegedly, I'm sure it's very well happening. People are, graduating college or high school even, and just kind of moving away right away. And I think a greater investment back into Omaha through volunteer work, through being involved in nonprofits, will definitely help that in a big way. And I think that's imperative as Omaha, if we want to continue to grow at the size and the rate that we are growing, that investment back in the community, being involved, having VTO through big employers in town is going to really help our city on a bigger scale.
Yes.
Grow.
Well, and we have drank the Chamber's Kool-Aid on talent and talent retention and being part of and being part of engagement of young professionals, and wanting to engage in a real way, not just virtually on digital, but actually making real connections and long-lasting and spurring long-lasting relationships. And we believe a lot of that happens in the nonprofit sector. We believe a lot of people are seeking significance, and people are seeking a way to live out a life mission, and they just don't know where to do that yet. And we know that people want to be a part of change, want to be a part of improvement. And once they see that their efforts have led to something, they are more likely to stay in a community. And we realize that some of that's employment, but a lot of it happens in the life that you live outside of your working hours.
Yeah.
And so if you can find significance in and outside of the office, you're gonna stay in that community because it feels like home for a lot of reasons.
Right, and also I'm sure I'm not unique in this, but service has always been a part of my life until I graduated college coming up about 2 years ago, because I went to a Catholic grade school where especially for like confirmation and stuff, you had to do I think 24 service hours for your church, family, all sorts of different categories. Then in high school I went to Creighton Prep. And so service was a big part there. Service days, big brother, big sister, big brother, little brother, go out and do service together for the community, for a nonprofit, or just raking leaves. And then in college, I was in a fraternity, which service is a huge philanthropy, a huge part.
Piece.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I graduated and I was like, this stuff isn't just handed to me anymore. I have to go out and look for this.
Right.
And the only can't call this good or bad, the only nonprofits or service opportunities that I was exposed to or that I even knew existed were the ones that I was exposed to through school.
Right.
One, not a lot of people have the benefit of being exposed to that growing up through school, but also two, people just don't know, there was no platform before Share Omaha to find these. I guess you could Google, local
Volunteer in Omaha.
Volunteer Omaha, yeah.
The same 5 would come up.
Right, because searching your results. But,
right.
Yeah. So yeah, Share Omaha fixes a lot of problems for people in my situation. I feel like, especially like you said, the younger people who maybe have that background or have that desire, if nothing else, to volunteer and to give back to the community, but did not have a fixed avenue to do that. Now I think there is one. Yes,
and we're seeing that our number one demographic of users is that 35-54 female, but we know that we've had spikes of young professional attention, younger attention, and if we were driving traffic amongst that demographic that we're seeing results regarding young professionals, but we get a lot of retirees. And I love that people are seeking significance when their work life is over, when it's come to a conclusion, and they're looking for ways to give back. So you'll see on our blogs that we have stories of young professionals, we have stories of families and people in mid-career, but we also have stories of amazing retirees. So people across the spectrum are seeing this as a user-friendly tool to use. I think it's Office Max. I mean, it's like or Staples, like the easy button. Like they'd be so happy that I said this right now. So
we're not getting paid by them.
We're not getting paid by them. Not getting paid by them. But we really feel like we simplify that search process and make it intuitive and digestible in a way that it hasn't been before. And people always say, like, how come we haven't done this before? Well, it's because nonprofits didn't have the capacity to think about a tool to benefit all of them. Right. But also, the technology to do so didn't really exist until just like 5, 6, 8 years ago when Charlotte started developing this kind of software. So it's just the right time. Yeah.
Walk myself and other folks watching through the step-by-step process. So say me and friends, or me and my networking group want to create a volunteer day for ourselves. How do we do that?
So you and your friends, so that'd be a group. So there's 2 avenues right when you get to the website. You could go find a nonprofit, just find by cause, and it's who it helps, what it impacts, and then there's an A through Z list of causes, with the 2019 flood being at the top. So,
that's awesome.
And we aggregate for disaster as well. So you could just search and say, we care about ALS, and see the organizations that serve ALS are all going to pop up, and they're going to say, can you donate, volunteer, shop, or is there an event? And they'll list, and you'll say, well, I want to volunteer. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to go to the homepage and say, volunteer. And then you could search on the left-hand side, there's a running list of filters, and you could say, we have a group. We have less than 10 people in our group. We have 10 plus people in my group.
Sure.
And I could say good for kids. It says people in your networking group have families.
Right.
So you could search by those 2 filters, and those are going to come up. Or you could say those 2 filters plus it helps adults in the community, or it helps the environment. And only activities that fit all those 3 or 4 filters are going to come up as opportunities.
Wow. Can you filter by day?
We don't have a scheduling platform,
okay.
so we are a sourcing platform. We generate leads for nonprofit organizations to schedule with you.
I see.
So they are grouped by date as far as when they're available.
Right.
And no, when it says all day, it just means any time that day.
Oh,
it means that you could do it any day, any time during a day.
You don't have to commit to 8 hours.
You don't have to commit to a whole day of service. So it's kind of a misnomer that we're working on the website. But they are sorted by when they're available, but they're not sorted always by what time they're available. So basically, once you fill out your very simple application saying I have 10 individuals that want to help out, these are the days that were available, there's an opportunity, there's kind of a box where you can put anything specific about you, your group, your family, if you have any ADA restrictions, things that people need to pay attention to as far as accessibility. All of those things you can list in that box, and your name, phone number, and email, and away it goes to the nonprofit. And we try very hard to coach our nonprofits. They should get back in touch with you, the person's putting themselves out there, within 48 hours.
Okay.
But that's totally, each nonprofit kind of handles their leads differently.
Of course.
But most nonprofits are very good at following up within 48 hours.
Oh, they want you. They want you.
Or you're on to the next opportunity because they can get back to you.
Right.
So they know it's a missed opportunity if they don't get back in touch with you quickly.
Makes sense. That's really cool. Very easy.
Yeah, very simple, very succinct. And know that, let's say there's people in your networking group that want to be on a board, or want to serve in a committee, or want to do something that's related to their legal acumen or to their accounting acumen. So you can search by those skills-based opportunities as well as by type of opportunity. So there's general volunteerism, there's committee service, internships, and board service. So right now there's 16 opportunities to serve on boards listed on the website.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must be very helpful for them.
Very helpful, and people are definitely getting leads of people that are almost putting resumes in the about box.
Right.
And, or some people just say, I used to be a client of your organization, or and it's amazing. So people are finding each other.
How cool.
Yeah.
So exponential growth within just the first few months of launching. What is attributed to that? Do you have big investors behind you? How do you guys market? There's a lot of Facebook ads behind that growth, or a lot of cold calling. How did you jump from 150, you said, to more than double in just a few months?
Thank you for that question. So we knew we'd only be new once. We knew that we had an opportunity, because we had the full functionality of what the Share platform offered on day one, that we had to make a big splash. Because if we started out grassroots, it would always be seen as something that was grassroots. So we, as opposed to starting small and testing it, we said we're going all in on day one. So starting January 17th, we did a mass media campaign. We had TV, radio, digital billboards. We had a robust social media campaign. We didn't start buying Facebook ads until about month 4 or 5.
Okay.
Because we wanted our initial attraction of followers to be organic. We wanted people to find us and be invested.
Right.
And like our content on their own. So
more authentic that way.
And so we generated about 900 followers just in organic following.
So
and
cool.
then from that we've started purchasing and sponsoring certain ads and certain stories that we know are going to resonate with that type of audience that we've known that have come to us as far as the psychographics and demographics of that audience.
Sure.
So, but as far as us, our budget actually from this year to next year and the year following actually drops off a little bit, because we budgeted for an advertising spend that was larger than average of a run rate year over year, because we knew we'd be new once.
That's a really good. I should have taken that advice when I was starting Project 402. You in there briefly mentioned kind of storytelling. That's a big part of what Share Omaha does. Is getting, there's a lot of misconceptions about nonprofits in general, but just kind of sharing the story of different businesses, kind of goes to what I'm doing here.
Exactly. So we tell about our resource to get people to use it, but really once people get there, And when they go to our Facebook pages and they go to our Instagram, it's rarely about what Share Omaha does. It's about the opportunities that they can take advantage of for nonprofits. Or it's a story of a real human connection that happened because of Share Omaha. Or an amazing volunteer that maybe didn't come to the organization through Share Omaha, that we just want to say, don't you want to be like this individual?
Right.
Look at this. Look what this guy's done for Durham Museum, and you could be that guy for the cause that matters most to you.
Spreading generosity.
Exactly. And so, actually, building toward how our year is going to end, we are celebrating Giving Tuesday, which is, follow this, it's the Tuesday after Cyber Monday after Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
So it's actually a international thing.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So it's taken root in a lot of East Coast and West Coast, actually across the country, communities that said, we want a day that's about giving. So we said, well, Omaha has Omaha Gives.
Right.
And we love the Omaha Community Foundation, and we fanned their flame that day. Well, we want Giving Tuesday to be less about a leaderboard of good than we want it to be about people using that as their either their kickoff to their holiday generosity, or thanking donors or thanking volunteers that have helped them throughout the year, or starting what their, for a nonprofit, what their goal is for December. But also, we want families and churches and schools to say, we're going to do something good that day.
Right.
And we want to bring attention to all of those do-gooders throughout the community, with the hashtags Giving Tuesday 402 and Giving Tuesday 712. So
712 is Council Bluffs?
712 Southwestern Iowa.
That's right.
Yes. So we want to be inclusive of that entire footprint, and we're really excited to just shine the light on generosity in general, as opposed to just cash or just volunteerism or just events. We really want to make sure that people feel like the good that's done in Omaha, and also with corporations through 24 Hours of Impact, they're going to be celebrating that day as well. We wanted to shine the light on people investing in their community and telling the great story that Omaha and Council Bluffs really care about making their communities better.
Right. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I think before Share Omaha, people just didn't know how. And your platform solves that. Or
there wasn't a platform that really told those stories in aggregation, or even just for individuals. There wasn't a place that people could go to find all of that good happening.
Right.
And because we launched very loudly, we're already being seen as a location for that type of good. As we close up, the day that the levees broke along the Missouri River and across the Platte, all of it, the day the levees broke was March 15th, the day of the YP Summit. And so during each break and in the 24 hours afterwards, we started finding all the nonprofits that were needing resources, needing donations, needing in-kind goods, needing volunteers. And we created a page and a filter just for the 2019 floods, and we saw our traffic double over the average traffic we had the 2 weeks prior.
That's amazing.
It doubled.
I'm so glad to hear that.
It doubled for the 2 and 3 weeks afterwards. And we know that that's because people were all looking for a way to do something that affect this awful, awful situation. And so we know that we're useful. We know that we're relevant. We know that we're responsive to community crisis and community needs. And if we can continue to do that and be seen for everyday philanthropy and everyday giving, but also be known as a place that Omaha and Council Bluffs can say, gosh, there's this awful tragedy that just happened, or this tornado that hit this piece of the community. How can I get involved? We know we have a community of hand raisers, is what I say. And we know that they want a place where they can efficiently find the best way to get involved. Right. That's what Share Omaha is.
Makes it easy to wake up and go to work every day, right? There's no bad days.
It's all good.
See it actually help such a huge cause like the flood.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that makes it significant.
I think I know your answer to this. It's probably going to tie into that last part, but what attracts people to Omaha? Why should people kind of move here and stay in Omaha? Is it that sense of community, that giving back? Something bad happens and everyone jumps on board to help. What is it?
I think we're a community that's facing its hard issues with real effort. I think every community has spots or issues or problems or challenges, and I think we're a community that actually addresses them. That I think people want to show up and help. I think people want to show up and see change. I think people want to show up and make a difference and find significance. But I think that all of those underlying challenges in the community are things that I see on a daily basis. People want to help and make an impact in what they see. Whatever those challenges are, people show up for them. And I think that's what gets me out of bed, is that I know I'm part of an engine of the community knowing itself and improving itself.
Sure. I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up.
Yes.
Yeah, and you guys are a continual part of that generosity throughout our community. And I thank you for existing. Because I think, like I told you off camera, I bring up Share Omaha probably more than what I do for work. I'm always running into nonprofits or people who say, I want to give back to the flood, or help out flood victims, everything. So I thank you for helping build our community and continuing to help Omaha grow and to spread generosity. So
you're welcome.
Everybody,
You're welcome.
Marjorie Moss with Share Omaha, thank you for listening. I'll plug socials and websites and everything down in the description below. But other than that, thank you for watching.
Thank you.